Hey, what's up, y'all? Thanks for tuning back in to Outshot Logic. Here we go again. ESPN up to their shenanigans again. This time, it's not involving LeBron directly, but it's about culture of the NBA.
Thank you all for watching this video. If you like this content, please feel free to like and subscribe. Also, hit the notification tab. Appreciate your support.
Now let's get it.
So, in case you all haven't heard it yet, Wemby signed a contract and he took less of a percentage of the max. Over the entirety of the contract, he signed for $252 million when he could have signed for $300, but he did that so that he could give them $50 million worth of relief over the span of the contract in order to build. And now you've got ESPN giving their critique about it, and they're not happy with it. So check this out.
Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs have agreed to a 5-year, $252 million max rookie contract. According to Shams, that happened on Friday. Notably, Wemby decided to take the 25% maximum instead of the 30% supermax escalators that could have seen the contract total reach $303 million over those 5 years. The deal could potentially save the Spurs up to $50 million over the life of the contract. Wemby announced the news on X saying, quote, "Spurs family, I'm here to stay, whatever it takes," but not everyone is seemingly thrilled about Wemby's deal. NBA PA Executive Director David Kelly had this to say in reaction to Wemby's new contract, quote, "We think the players should make decisions for themselves and we should not be pocket watching." That's what Kelly said in response when asked about Wembanyama's deal. "The system should not require a player to carry all of that burden. We should not put a player in the position to carry the burden of keeping a team together." Kendrick Perkins, Vince Goodwill joining us here this morning. Good morning, guys. Vince, want to start with you here. Do you like the move or not like the move from Wemby to leave some money on the table for the Spurs?
I hate it because ain't neither one of us sitting here going to leave money on the table. I think it sets a bad precedent for the NBA. I think when in terms of the Players Association and the collective bargaining deals since 1998, they have progressively gone in favor of the owners. And the problem is the Spurs have 3 potential max players on their roster: Victor Wembanyama, Steph Castle, Dylan Harper. Victor Wembanyama maybe can make up that 5% with his Nike deal and everything else. But does that mean Dylan Harper and Steph Castle, they have to take less because Victor Wembanyama took less? And you're watching these players, like they have a very finite period of time to maximize their earnings potential. I know Victor Wembanyama's an alien and everything else. He's going to get every dollar that's owed to him. But I don't know if I want to applaud this, because I'll tell you this. When's the last time we asked an owner to sacrifice some money or whatever it is, or ownership groups to sacrifice money for the sake of winning? The fact that you're putting players in a spot where they have to be both player and executive, give them 2 salaries then, because they're doing 2 people's jobs, and I don't like that.
I mean, $252 million, that's it? Wemby should have signed a 10-year, $1 billion deal. That's how valuable he is. That's how box office he is. And I get it, listen. To a lot of people in the world, to us, like we cover this game as students of the game, as analysts, as journalists, and as fans, right? But this is people's jobs. This is these guys' jobs. And even when I was playing and guys were coming up to get their money or getting contracts, I would always say, get your money first and max out, and then worry about the other stuff later. Victor Wembanyama is arguably the most valuable player in the NBA. Every arena he steps foot in is going to be sold out, whether it's in San Antonio or whether it's on the road. Matter of fact, it's only one player that I would spend my hard-earned money to go see, and that's Wemby. So at the end of the day, we have to start applying pressure more on the owners. The whole family ain't hurting for money. And who own the San Antonio Spurs? Let them figure it out. I applaud Victor, and I understand he wants to win. He's a competitor. He wants to be on top. He wants to win championships. But I don't encourage no player to leave no money on the table, not one single penny.
This is Adam Silver's legacy right now. Adam Silver right now, as the commissioner of the NBA, has taken the league from the player empowerment era to the player depowerment era, where you have the most important face of the league right now is having to make the decision that if I want to maintain a championship legacy, the only way to do it is to take less money. And we have a finals that just happened with Jalen Brunson and Victor Wembanyama, 2 guys who now have left millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on the table so that their teams can make it to the finals. This is not good for the league. And you think that this Jaylen Brown situation in Boston happens in a vacuum? We're going to see more of this every single offseason. We're going to see more Karl Anthony Towns, Jaylen Brown's teams that are kicking them to the curb. So if a player had decided, I'm going to go to another team in their prime, they're the bad guy.
Yeah.
But if an owner ahead of time says, we're getting rid of them to save money, they're doing cost-cutting measures. They're doing what they have to do to save the money. They're the billionaires. They're the people with the money. Why are we saving them money? Adam Silver has to hold this on his belt, that he is the one that has shifted the power from the players to the owners and allowing them to save all the money.
Yeah,
He's going to win MVPs. He's going to win Defensive Player of the Year awards. He's going to be all NBA. But for him to sacrifice this money throughout the next 5 or 6 years, Wemby has to. He has to deliver 2 championships in the next 5 or 6 years in order to make this contract a success.
Okay, so does anybody not see the problem with this? This is about the culture. Okay, you've got a guy here in Wemby who's a young guy who's willing to set an example and say, look, I'm willing to take less money if it'll help us win. Now, if we go back and we look at Carmelo when he took his deal with New York, he took the bag instead of letting the team build around him. And how did that work out for his legacy? He had a Hall of Fame career, but he never got close to winning a championship. The issue with this is that here you have a panel that is representing sports media that is saying that this guy should have been taking all the money because his owners are billionaires and they're not struggling for money. But my thing is this: since when did money become more important than winning? And we know who is to blame for this. Your boy, LBJ. He's the one that set this standard of player empowerment. And it's hurt the league. And we all know it. You've got NBA players that talk about it. You've got former NBA players that talk about it. You've got execs that talk about it.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works.
The only reason why he's willing to take less money now is because he can't find a team. This is the problem. Since when is getting the money more important than winning? But if it wasn't for that, just like with the Lakers, he was demanding max dollars. Still, the winning culture is non-existent anymore. Jordan's last 2 years in Chicago, he took 34 and 36 million. I remember it like yesterday. But all those years that they were winning in between that time, he wasn't maxing himself out. Tom Brady took less money to build, and he already had rings. He took less money when he went to Tampa to win a Super Bowl. Look at what Jalen Brunson did. Look at the money he left on the table in order to build a champion. You can talk about all these guys and talk about how they're leaving money on the table, but they're doing it to win because winning matters more to them. And in terms of an ownership taking less money, let me ask you a question. Of all the max contracts that James Harden has taken, of all the max contracts that Kevin Durant has taken since he left Golden State, what about the losses that those owners took, paying those guys all that money to get nothing out of it? See, nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about the risk and reward from ownership and the money that they lose investing into these players that want to load manage and don't want to play for 20 games. Nobody wants to talk about that. So I ain't mad at the owners because they're the ones that's fronting all the money. And you got guys that don't want to earn it. You know, ESPN's sitting up here like these owners don't take risks. They take risks too. I think it's really rich for all these other people to sit up here on this panel and talk about how it's so messed up that Victor wanted to take less money and to build a winning legacy for himself. But it's okay for you to jump from team to team and join top 5 and top 10 players in the league in order to get championships. That's okay. To cheat the system that way, that's okay. But for you to be willing to take less money to build with the team that you're on and build your own legacy with your own franchise, somehow that's wrong. This is what's fucked up about the NBA and the NBA's culture. It's about branding. It's about money. That's all it's about. And they want to criticize Adam Silver. Oh, this is Adam Silver's legacy, blah, blah, blah. Now, Adam Silver's legacy is letting people like LeBron get away with the shit they've gotten away with over the last 20 years. That's where the flaw in his legacy is. That's where the stain in Adam Silver's legacy is. That's where that stain lies. It's right there. But for me, I applaud Vic. Hell of a job. Do what you got to do to build a winner. $252 million is more than enough money to be comfortable. And if you can win, and if you can win a championship, and you can build your legacy that way, it's going to pay off a lot more down the road than it will to take the money now. Because that money can come and go, but that legacy will always be there. And that legacy will always get you advertisements, notoriety. It'll always get you slots on TV, and sports shows and things like that. There's guys that were role players and second tier players on teams that are on TV right now, on teams that won championships. That championship meant more to them than what that max contract would have back then. It's about winning. It's always been about winning, and it should always be about winning. At the end of the day, it's about winning, and I'm glad Victor done what he did. And you can't tell me that taking $252 million as opposed to $300 million is getting cheated. Not when it can give him a legacy that money can't. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it.
All right, Dan.